the years we keep supporting the Indian football team, we see them perform on different tournaments at different stages. And there are times like these in the World Cup qualifiers or the Asian Cup qualifiers or the Asian Cup itself, where we see them take on a truly big opponent, somebody who's got a standing in the world stage. And usually, what we see is India fights hard, India gives them some tough moments, but in the end, it's always the bigger team which has the last laugh. And it seems in the last few years, we've had our fair share of disappointment, our fair share of heartbreaks, of trying and failing. But throughout these years, throughout these decades, that Indian football fans have been watching the national team going up and try hard, they have been waiting for something like this. We've had moments like this before. We've beaten UAE in the World Cup qualifiers in the past. I think we got a draw against them, which was one of the biggest results that we got in the World Cup qualifiers, because we were 60 ranks down than them. So things like this have happened before, but never in the modern era of Indian football have we gone up against the Asian champions, and held them and denied them the chance to break us in the same way that they have broken Saudi Arabia, the way they have broken UAE, the way they have broken Japan. All these World Cup playing major teams that suffered a defeat against Qatar, we ended up doing better than them. And does it mean like we are all the way up to that level? No, it doesn't. But it's just lightning in the bottle. It just shows what football is capable of. It just shows what a team can do despite all the disadvantage in the world. If they put their head down and do their job right as a unit on one fateful night, anything can happen. Kevin, I was up till like 6 in the morning just rewatching the match and looking at particular moments. It just seemed like something I wanted to burn into my brain like a CD drive. What did you think, man? How are you feeling right now? It just doesn't feel real right now for me.
Chiranjit, I'll tell you something. Things are coming to my mind like flashes. Those moments, some of the moments in the match, will stay with you forever. And I'll tell you, one of that image that is in my mind right now is Borges and Udanta Singh holding their knees, waiting for the final whistle, yet they know that the job is not done. So that kind of image, when it sinks in you, you understand what the players have gone through, and that is when you realize this 1 point that we have earned from Qatar away from home is going to be the most promising, and this is light at the end of the tunnel. How many Indians could have imagined this team going in without a Sunil Chetri, just at the back of a loss, the narrow loss? And again and again, when you reach towards the final whistle, you're thinking, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? No, it was so unbelievable. Even at the 90th, that time, we're not focused on the final score. We're just waiting that the ball is not given up, and you're waiting for the ball to be away from Gurpreet Singh as much as it has been for the entire game. And the final score didn't matter till the final whistle. You're just waiting to see the game off. The players had given their every bit. From the time the lineup was announced till the final whistle, thanks to every bit of sweat that came out from the Indian players, and that 1 point will stay with us forever.
It's 1 point in the World Cup qualifiers, but one giant leap for Indian football team. We just came into this match on top of tragedy after tragedy. Like the Oman game, we saw the Indian national team find a rhythm. They were doing well. They got the goal early on. A beautiful free kick conversion by Brandon Fernandes. He took the free kick and Sunil Chetri put the ball in Guwahati, and I was out there in the stands with Blue Pilgrims, and we were chanting, we were dancing throughout the match because it seemed like India was finally just getting us some good memories from the World Cup qualifiers, because we remember what happened in 2015. That was nightmare after nightmare, losing away to Guam and those tough matches against West Asian teams where we always just seem to fall just a bit short. And towards the last 10 minutes, or I would say actually in the very first half, towards the end, Oman were trying to ramp up the attack and they were taking control of the game, but India held on for most of the match, and just in the last 10 minutes everything fell apart, and it was such a punch in the gut, as in it just seemed like exactly what happened in 2011. It's like you just expect and you hope and pray that something different will happen. We will be getting some bone from the universe and get off to a good winning start and go into the rest of the campaign with some semblance of hope. But it just seemed like losing to Oman at home. I mean, that was like almost a blow that ended our campaign right there, because literally everybody expected us to lose to Qatar at away, and even now I don't think there's too many people who are hoping that we will beat Qatar home to get us back near the top of the points table. But after that kind of loss, that reinforces that negative stereotype of us just failing in the last few minutes, of failing at the big stage. You face this kind of a test against the Asian champions, and Sunil Chetri is out with a fever. Ashik Kurunian is injured. You're going in with a very slim chance. There's this almost guarantee that you're not gonna get a goal. Your entire game depends on the defense performing at 250% of their ability to hold off the Asian champions, a team that has beaten some of the best teams in the continent. How do you prepare for this? How do you think the planning went in on the Indian dressing room? How did Igor Stimash handle the situation?
It's not everything that to be done with technique. It's not everything to be done with tactics. A lot of thing involves around your mindset, and I think rightly the Indian head coach Igor Stimac already pointed out that if you have a positive frame of mind, if you have a correct mentality towards approaching a game from the first whistle till the last, I think that is more consistent enough to win you a game. And the technique and tactics will follow when your body starts to almost give up. You're looking at that dreaded 70 minutes that we are talking about, that India that 70-minute team, and it's only the last 10 minutes 20 minutes that we start to give up. It's how you want to finish off despite all the difficulties. It's difficult to play against a team which is so physical. I don't think we won physical battles enough to say that we went head to head with them. This is all about mindset. It's all about how you want your team to look at each other when the final whistle is blown. We did want to look at how Qatar operated. Were they strong on the wings? Were they pressing the players down? I think everything was studied well, but most importantly, the constant reminder that we can get through this. That belief, that conviction had to be there in the players, and that led to seeing us off that finish line. That was the most important thing that mattered for all the players.
Absolutely. And one of the things that sort of stood out for Igor Stimac, I think we've talked about this before in the past episodes, that he is somebody who speaks in the way the fans connect with best. We've seen him openly praising young players and talking about hopes and dreams. He's tapping into the one thing that we have as Indian football fans. We only have hope. We're not out there winning big trophies in the world stage, but that's what we hope to do one day, hopefully during our lifetimes. And literally that's the only thing that drives us forward. And after India suffered that defeat to Oman and it looked like bleak, The first thing he said after the match, Igor Stimac did, he said, "There will be a day when we will not lose a match like this," which cuts to the exact reason why you and me just wake up every morning and think about Indian football, try to write about Indian football, try to talk about Indian football, and try to promote it. It's because we just have that idea. We just have that dream. It's that dream that we cannot give up at any cost. It's that one day we will not be losing matches like this. And it was becoming a bit of a nightmare scenario because we lost to Bahrain in the last few minutes. We actually gave away a goal and drew to Syria in Intercontinental Cup in the last few minutes. We came over to Guwahati and gave away the game in the last few minutes when the clock was ticking past 80 minutes and India was still nil-nil and Qatar were throwing everything at our defense. Did you think we were gonna survive another 10-15 minutes?
Again, Chiranjit, that flash of Roland Borges and Udanta Singh, it was despair. Looking at them, they had given their best, and what else was remaining in the tank? And
Yeah.
everything was emptied. They were just this holding on to that final life that was remaining in them. And I think if it wasn't for the extra defender that India had, I'm talking about the upright, the goalpost that was to the left of Gurpreet, I think India were done. It was again a case for a 1-0 loss or a 2-0 or a 3-0. It just finishes you off if you see the goal, if you see the ball at the back of the net after giving everything that you've had. From the past 7 days, I think the players must have never worked so much in their life as much as they had. So I think it was for that extra luck that we had. Apart from that, I don't think we could have made it past the finish line.
Qatar seemed like they just expected to continue the party. They beat Afghanistan 6-0. They expected a similar kind of opposition from India, similar quality. And they came in thinking, okay, let's just start scoring straight away. They had two of their defenders sneaking up the midfield, which is like such a disrespectful situation because they had 7 people in the final third at some points, 7 or 8 players just walking around near Indian's penalty box, and India have 10 people behind the ball. It was a bit indignant, and that's why it sort of felt good that we had that bit of luck throughout the game, that they were building everything, they were controlling the ball, getting the ball through from the midfield, but whenever they were getting into the box, their finishing was complete shit. And this is probably one of the worst attacking displays that Qatar have put on in the last couple of years, to be frank. They just did not know how to find the net. Gurpreet was making superhuman saves. That's like literally the most common thread India have going for them. The win against Kyrgyzstan at home, the win away against Myanmar, pressure cooker situations we endured in China. The most similarities I can find between this match and another recent match is that China versus India friendly match, where again they threw everything, hit the post, just could not get past Gurpreet in the end. Do you think Qatar, to an extent, were overconfident coming into this game and just did not see India as a serious opponent?
I think they must have been prepared for, but what they must have not thought about that it would be so difficult, because they had to get past 3 defensive lines before coming into the final third, and the only place that they could enter was from the crosses or from the long shots. Because India was sitting in so deep that we really had to force them either use the wings or look at how Almoaz Ali was kept. He was literally in a cage. Jingen, Adil Khan really kept him in so close to him that he never looked like he was in the game for the first half an hour or so. So that kind of intensity was not expected from the Indians. And again, talking about the point that you started off with, the central defenders were given the freedom to take the shots at their will. and that just leads you to understanding that was that a sign of desperation, or was this something that they just couldn't break India from the center, because there were bodies right in front of them, and sitting back also leads to a lot of problems. You block out your goalkeeper's vision. He's not able to see the ball clearly until the last second at times, and then there is a problem of the deflection coming in. When you have so many bodies in front, everybody's turning their faces away. You can just get in a deflection from your own player, and that leads to your the only goal of the game. So there were problems that Qatar did understand in the first half what was happening, but what they did not get was, I think they just had a bad day. The finishing was out of the place, and thanks to Gurpreet, if not for the perfect saves that he had made, I don't think we would be surviving the attacks that they were throwing at us.
Gurpreet is good enough to play in most European leagues. Literally. And I have to say that about Sandesh Jingan and Adil Khan too. It's astounding how these players have actually continued to improve despite being out there for a long time. And part of that credit will have to go to the coaching staff that have been around for India. The staff of Constantine, the staff of Igor Stimac, all of them have contributed to this. And it's that understanding that we are finally seeing that we did not see in to some extent in Kings Cup, to some extent in Intercontinental Cup when we were conceding 4-5 goals, while Igor Stimac was still switching around with the defense, trying to figure out the best combination possible. Now that we're seeing a little bit of familiarity in the Indian back four and it's starting to deliver in results like this, it just infuses new hope, because literally, when was the last time we held the Asian champions? It just does not happen in the recent history of Indian football. Do you think we have found the perfect combination finally? And I know that Ashik Kurunian missed the match, but just looking at the way things functioned, are we there?
I think let's go back to the team selection when when the lineups came out. We had Mandar coming in at the left back position. So Manveer Singh and Nikhil Pujari. These three players were the surprise entrants into the team. So if you're talking about these players also being part of the combination that India should be going forward, I wouldn't quite agree, because all three had difficult times, going to the extent that we almost gave away the ball so cheaply it could have led to the goals. The balls were given away at the half line, and the Qatari players were so good that within 3 or 4 seconds they were already with 4 men attacking on the counter. So that kind of combination will not come in easily. We will have to look at, can we afford to have Sunil Chetri not playing? That's again a question, that's a big question. If Sunil Chetri is not playing, where are the goals coming in from? So Udanta Singh is more of a winger. We did see what happened when he thrusted ahead with the ball. Manveer Singh was expecting a tap in at the other end, but it's just that the legs gave away so much. The pass wouldn't reach him, and we didn't have the legs to catch up. We had three defenders versus two attackers of us, but it never seemed likely that Manveer Singh at the other end of the ball is going to be the one who's going to finish. So again, the combination is not reached perfectly as of now.
Again, I think it's a bit unfair to compare Manveer Singh to Sunil Chetri already, and I think the role that Manveer Singh played, he didn't have much to do as a striker. What he was doing was he was running back 70 yards to cover as an extra defender, literally all the time. Sometimes there were 10 men behind the ball, and Manveer Singh was just away from our first third and waiting for a hopeful ball that can lead to a counter. And other times he was behind the ball.
This was exactly the situation where we played Kyrgyz Republic at home. This was taking in pressure, absorbing in the maximum pressure that they were throwing at us. And there was one chance. Again, the combination of Udanta Singh and Sunil Chetri, that led us the only goal of the game. We're talking about chances that will come in a few. With 20%, 30% possession, it is possible that we do get in a couple of breakaways like we had yesterday. Sahal did the job. He was the one who was creating those through balls. Udanta Singh running in from the right. Manveer Singh, yes, he's not matured, as there's no direct comparison. But again, the chances will come. if we have the right set of players to finish off, I think we can possibly even start believing that we can knock in a goal or two if we are thrown in an opportunity.
Okay, I think we have gone past the initial euphoria stage and we are getting into the nitty gritty of the details. So let's just go and explore the little darker side of this result. We're going to remember this draw for a long time to come, and we're going to celebrate this. We're going to acknowledge it for what it is, of India stopping the Asian champs in their own backyard. But if Qatar had a little bit of luck going, they would have won this match 3-0. That's one thing. And the second thing is India still did not look like they had the best of plans going in. And I'm not just talking about the Qatar match. I'm talking about the whole World Cup qualifier situation, because I just want to take you back to the Asian Cup, where one of the biggest issues was fitness, as we all keep discussing. The first game against Thailand, India did pretty well. India had played a little bit of warm-up matches, done some sessions. Second match against UAE, they did the best. That was arguably one of the best performances, fitness-wise and distance covering-wise, that India has put on in a long time. The third match, and there was a bit of concern going into that match against Bahrain, India's fitness level dipped, and we did not do that well. We gave away the game in the last few minutes, as everybody remembers. That shit can't be forgotten even if we want to. Then move over to the Kings Cup, where India played the first match against Curacao. They lost, but it was a good, going out there and getting acquainted with the new coach and his strategies. Then the second match, India beat Thailand. Another gritty performance. Again, Indian team was peaking in terms of fitness, right? Intercontinental Cup, the first match did not look good. Second match, there was a lot of switching around, so not a very accurate comparison, but Indian team looked their best in the second game. The third match, again, a lot of grit shown, but we gave away the game in the last few minutes. And it seems like Indian team still have that fitness level where in competition, when they are facing back-to-back matches with or without travel involved in the middle, the first match they still appear to be a bit less prepared and warming up. Second match, they are giving their everything, and the third match, the fitness level really drops. Where it's relevant here is that India did not play a friendly coming into the World Cup qualifiers. Again, we tried our best, we got the goal, we held on as long as we could, and then in the last 15 minutes they were just taking over and they got the 2 goals in the last few minutes. Everybody remembers. That was the first competitive game in a while for the team. Then India went and played Qatar. And again, the second match, we saw them really go out and perform beyond themselves. Is there a pattern here, Kevin? Are we looking at a team that has a very specific graph in terms of fitness, where the first match you have one kind of performance, the second match it's all out there on the plate, and the third match it just goes down? And if that's the case, then why do we not plan our campaign in a way where we have a friendly some 5-6 days ahead of the World Cup qualifier match, so that we can use the peak of the second match on the crucial World Cup qualifier game that we have coming up?
The most likelihood of the fitness is not directly relevant to the number of friendlies we play. It's relevant to the number of matches played. If the season is ongoing, in between that we have a break, because not all countries start the season in October, November. If the players that are already here are not into match fitness mode, you can't expect really them to go ahead and give their best in a friendly and then carry it forward to the tournament. Again, World Cup qualifiers are not as stretchy as the other tournaments would be, because it's a longer duration and we've got gaps in between that. So on your point, Chiranjit, I don't think a friendly or a larger campaign would have helped India to get back fitness, because we are really in the off season and we are nowhere even coming close to agility or endurance level talks for the Indian national team, because that itself is a major problem. The calendar does not suit us. We're playing a tournament just before coming in where our junior sides are playing one of the most prestigious tournaments. I'm talking about the Duran Cup, and those are things that need to come into planner, where we know that the players before heading into the national camp are much fitter, are much wiser, are much capable of being utilized to their potential by the national camp. Again, a friendly before tournament will only help us to find a combination. It will not really go up, increase our endurance and performance levels.
Well, because we are not in competition right now, the leagues are not going on, and we have players coming off the couch mostly. Is it not even more important that we get a warm up game? I mean, we did I think Igor Stimash had a friendly game. I think India A, India B, whatever he did. It was an internal friendly game that happened in Goa ahead of the World Cup qualifiers. But that does not seem to really get you in that competitive mode, that tournament mindset, that grind. Is it not even more important that we get a couple of friendlies then?
When we do play a FIFA approved friendly or a non FIFA friendly, the difference is the number of substitutions and what we aim to get out of that. And it's not going to be played at an intensity as a tournament. It's going to be trial and testing for the coach, because the combinations are important. It's always going to be, if can we try this tactic in the upcoming tournament, can this combination work at 1-0 down or a 2-0 up when you shift offensive to possession. So these are the things that we might get to try in a friendly, but again, it's not going to be a whole lot helpful for us to have play a couple of friendlies before going in a tournament. They're coming off rushed because it's mostly vacation mode for all players. It was important to get back the team into shape. Going by team match appointment, I think we will play a couple of friendlies, or at least one, before we head into any tournament.
Well, we did not this time, and maybe that affected how the coach picked the combinations and teams in the Oman game. Because imagine if we had won that game against Oman, we would be on 4 points right now, just trailing Qatar by goal difference. And that is a huge leap forward in terms of whether we're going to top the group or not. Does not matter. If we have so many points in our disposal, we would definitely be one of the best runner-up teams in the whole Asian qualifiers. Even though we should be celebrating this wholeheartedly in terms of what we are trying to achieve, this is still not enough. Losing 3 points to Oman may come back to haunt us if we end up second in the points table. So that's our look into what happened against Qatar, what happened in Guwahati, the atmosphere, the vein of our approach. It looks a lot more positive than what we had back in 2015, when we kept losing back to back matches and lost almost all of our matches in the World Cup qualifiers. Let's see where we end up. Hope is all we have, and that's what the Indian national team showed us in Doha, the Die Hards of Doha. So let's move on to the next section, which is the fan speak. I know we have been promising for a long time that this episode was coming. In fact, we ended up taking a month's break between episodes here, and we put out a tweet asking for questions from the fans, and many of them have unfortunately become a bit outdated. But there are quite a few really good questions that we got from you guys on Twitter, and we've had quite a few things happen in the Indian football domestic scene as well. AIFF has all but confirmed that ISL will be the top division next season, and the Club Alliance of I League clubs has all but broken apart. We will be looking at that in more detail in future episodes, but for now let's just take a question about Kevin's favorite club, East Bengal. Quest disassociating with East Bengal makes me believe that there is something wrong with Kolkata I League clubs. This also correlates in why Mohan Bagan is not able to find the sponsors from past 2 years. Is this the right time for I League clubs to start introspection? I think that's what he wanted to say. Your views. The question is coming from Namonani 539. What do you think, Kevin? Why is Quest going away from East Bengal? Why is your club struggling so much, man?
Yeah, I think we all love Kolkata so much that it needs more love from new people and new corporates. So Quest, I think, had enough of East Bengal in the first year of association. Probably there might be a change in business perspective. Could have been a clash internally, and business might be just an excuse to move away from there. Possibly it's a mix of both. So I don't think they did too bad in the first year of association. Quite a big deal they had signed. But Quest has been known to diversify their investments. I think it may be time for them to look at more profitable and more fruitful ventures outside. So probably that is one reason. But again, it's in the process right now. It's not completely cut off. I don't know what is wrong with Mohan Bagan there. If East Bengal can get such a big corporate deal, Mohan Bagan should also be introspecting really to probably shift their focus. You can have a better say on that.
Quest, I think, sort of realized that Indian football is not going to make money for them now, and that's the reality of Indian football. Nobody is making a profit. ISL teams are running on 100 crore losses, and if you are going into ISL, and that's the primary reason why Quest looked into East Bengal, it was about a potential future entry into ISL. Otherwise, they did not need a corporate investor. So they came in, but they realized that the numbers do not add up for them. It's not going to give them a profit in 5 years. Nobody is going to come in to ISL and make profit in 5 years. It's a 20-year project, as we keep saying here. If you're going to come into Indian football, make sure you come in with the right intentions, not to make a quick buck. You should go to IPL if you want to make a quick buck. But what happened, I think, was more than just the numbers not adding up. It was constant clashes with the East Bengal officials, differences in the way they wanted to run the clubs. The East Bengal officials were not happy by the way all the power was taken out from their hands. I think it was a wake-up call for them that they were just getting sidelined. So they tried to undermine Quest in many ways. And Quest had reasons to get frustrated with them, because East Bengal would have won the I-League last season had it not been for the old East Bengal officials just making some locha in terms of player signing and getting them a transfer ban for a few months. Just one extra win would have gotten them the league. That would have made all the difference, I believe. If they were playing in AFC Champions League this season, the sponsor interest would be completely different. They would have attracted international attention, but unfortunately that's not the case for them. So Quest have expressed the interest to leave at the end of this season. The rumor going around in the Maidan right now is all of a sudden 80K and East Bengal are in talks. Kevin! They tried to make Mohan Bagan merge with 80K. Did not happen.
I've
But
told
this
you
time it
earlier as
seems-
well. I have a hunch that Mohan Bagan, East Bengal, these are all just the same entity with a different face at different places. Nothing else. That's what I feel.
Dude, come on, man. After being so long in Indian football, you can't say East Bengal and Mohan Bagan are the same entity. But on the Mohan Bagan front, interestingly, the rumor is that they are going to announce an investor by October, and let's take it with a pinch of salt, because they've been saying we will announce, talks are going on, we are closing in on a deal, all that stuff. Multiple times we have heard that, but it has always fallen through. This time they're saying, oh yeah, this is it. We're gonna sign a big investor. Let's just see. We'll have to wait till early October to find out whether that actually happens or not. And that would be the time to do it if it happens, because I-League should be starting early November. They are supposed to be playing the Sheikh Kamal International Tournament in Bangladesh, Chittagong. It's an AFC Tier 2 tournament. East Bengal played it once they reached the final. This time from India, we have Mohan Bagan, Mohammedan Sporting and Chennai City FC going to play in that competition. It's going to be interesting. We're going to have gloves from Bangladesh, of course, Nepal or another country. It's really interesting how these cup tournaments are playing into the preseason plans. Or I don't think we can call it preseason at this point. CFL is going on, MPL is going on. Everybody's in season, other than the ISL teams who are still doing the preseason. But yeah, it's interesting how these cups are helping these sidelined clubs gain a little bit of popularity, and whether this will help Mohun Bagan or East Bengal bring in new investors, we'll have to wait and see. But talking about these cup tournaments, so William Ireland is asking on Twitter, after boycotting the Super Cup, do you think the Durand Cup is a good opportunity for I-League clubs to prove their worth to Praful Patel and company? I don't think they need to prove their worth, but it's a show of force nonetheless. Because what we have seen in the Durand Cup, and it can be easily said that the tournament was carried by East Bengal and Mohun Bagan fans. When they were playing at their own home grounds, it was sold out in their stadiums at 3 in the afternoon without much promotion and advertising. I think it became pretty obvious that it was East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, and Mohammedan sporting clubs who showed up and supported their teams when you don't have 100 crore marketing campaign backing up or propping up a franchisee. And to be frank, that's not sustainable. If you are spending that much money on promotion, that much extra money compared to what you're making, that just makes that just makes sure that you're going to make a loss from the tournament right off the bat. So it can't go on forever. I think there is a potential for East Bengal and Mohun Bagan to reach new heights of popularity if they are allowed into ISL and promoted well. But even without promotion, the way they have carried the Durand Cup and given the most popular edition of Durand Cup in years, I think over a decade, it's significant. What do you think?
Yeah, I think every tournament has its own weight, especially when you talk about historic tournaments, or historic in the sense so well known across the Asian continent. I-League clubs do think about every tournament as giving out the best, and probably sending out the best teams as well. ISL teams do not think about in that way, because for them it's also about what are we getting in return. So for I-League clubs, it shouldn't be mattering whether should we playing we should play a team or not. It's all about getting in the trophy. It's all about keeping the accolades coming, and every opportunity has to be taken in a way that can be used for marketing, add value to your club, add value to the players, the fans associated, because it's jam packed. Every opportunity that the I-League club see, I think they see it as a golden one, and they do give out their best every time they're invited, or they are part of a tournament, unlike some ISL teams which really will send their junior teams as if it does not matter enough for the prestige of the club.
Yeah, well, at a time when some ISL teams are dying now, we have lost Pune City, we have lost Delhi Dynamos. One is sold, one has moved houses. We're going to have Odisha FC now and Hyderabad FC and all that. We can see the cracks in the business model showing, and I think at this point ISL really needs East Bengal and Mohun Bagan to give them something of added value, because literally every ISL team takes value from being in ISL. All the franchises, they have nothing going for them other than being in ISL, and they are propped up by that marketing campaign, and it's just counterproductive when you're trying to increase the popularity of the tournament, go beyond what's already there, because it's not enough. It does not help to have franchises who are just dependent on your marketing campaign. But with East Bengal and Mohun Bagan, they're gonna bring in extra fan bases. It's a very important distinction that has to be made when you're considering the prospect of them entering ISL, because it's not a meritocratic thing. You buy into it. So if you're buying into it, you're gonna have to consider the cost and value, the business that every new team brings into the franchise. And it's not like Odisha FC is going to change the fate of ISL. They might get a little bit of popularity, Hyderabad FC even less, but what's going to happen when East Bengal and Mohun Bagan come in it. East Bengal under 19 played a game in Jalpaiguri a few days ago, and they sold out a stadium. Imagine at 2 in the afternoon, the under 19 team is playing and the entire stadium is full. Tournaments like Durand Cup, tournaments like Sheikh Kamal's International Cup, which is happening in Chittagong, they give you a glimpse of what happens when the clubs are left on their own to sell their own tickets and drum up their own interest. And I think that point has been made in the Durand Cup. So that's where we are now. Indian football, not everything has been solved. Maybe there is a hope at the end of the tunnel. We're gonna see some positive developments in domestic scene as well, along with the good results we're getting at the international stage. Kevin, we are going to face Bangladesh on 15th of October in our next World Cup qualifier match. Do you think we need a friendly before that?
Yes, in the sense, a lot of things can be worked out with having 5 or 6 substitution that will probably introduce us to a new phase that has a likelihood of showing up in the final minutes of the regulation time or something like that. Some things can be helpful, but again, since the season will be close, it should be useful to have pick up a couple of players from the ongoing season and introducing them into this friendly before going in and announcing the final 23 or 25 going in for the Bangladesh game.
We're gonna have the match in Kolkata, which is going to be interesting. What kind of response it generates from the East Bengal and Mohun Bagan fans. The last time India played there, it was a rather sordid affair. There was no promotion behind the match, no steam behind the match. It was a friendly at 2 p.m. If you were watching the match on TV, you could hardly see the game because there was so much fog. We can come out of that bad memory of Salt Lake Stadium not showing up for the national team when India play Bangladesh. We're gonna have some fans from Bangladesh come over as well, hopefully, because it's close to that border. So let's just see. We were talking about how these cup tournaments like Durand Cup help ID clubs showcase themselves. Well, the national team matches are another platform. East Bengal and Mohun Bagan fans can show up in numbers and show how much they care about the national team and how much they are able to be there and add value to the national team as well. Igor Stimash said this performance was an invitation to the fans to come to the next match. Well, the coach has given an invitation, so what do you need? Another Sunil Chhetri video? The Indian national team has not seen such a big crowd in a very long time. The last time I think it was against Cambodia, and it was an away game and a hostile crowd. But the Indian national team playing in front of 65,000 home fans, that has not happened in a long time. Do you think it's going to happen this time?
I think Kolkata is never disappointed for any tournament, and this might be the biggest gift that Indian football will be receiving from the fans. It's going to be an intense atmosphere, especially the sentiments of the people that are growing towards the national team, looking at how we've progressed from the times Stimac has revolutionized our team mentality. That's more important. I think that the fans will come close. They will give it their all. Just hoping for the best to come out from that game.
Yeah, we have been entertained, we have been mesmerized, we have been moved by the kind of performance that the Indian national team has put on in the recent past. And the least we can do at this point, we can give them the best welcome back party that they can have at the Salt Lake Stadium on 15th of October. Watch out for the tickets whenever it comes out. Tell your friends, tell your family. Bring everybody. It's gonna be an Indian football celebration on 15th of October at the Salt Lake Stadium, the biggest arena in India, and let's make it the biggest occasion in Indian sports of the whole month of October. Looking forward to that. Till then, if you have any questions or something to add or something to criticize, you can direct them at me at the rate Chiranjit Oja on Twitter or at Kevin at the rate Boza_Kevin. Also on Twitter, and you can follow at the rate TFG Football for all the news, views and updates on Indian football as we continue building up towards the league seasons, towards Sheikh Kamal's Cup, also taking a look at the ongoing Calcutta Football League, the Mizoram Premier League, all the local leagues and everything that's happening in this jumbled mess that just gives us so much delight occasionally, that is Indian football, that we cannot live without. Thank you for listening. Come back to us next week. We will be going deeper into the domestic season. Thank you so much.